allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Brandy, if you could take the roll. Chris, if you could take the roll.
Chair Dew is absent today. Vice Chair Furlong.
Here.
Member Matthews.
Here.
Member Schifsky. Member Thorsen is absent today. Council Representative Cole is absent today. Mayor Monge.
Here.
Staff and ex officio members present today are Executive Director Frandle, Treasurer, Community Development Director Howe, and EDA Secretary Cherne.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Well, do we make a correction on our number?
As in? No. So his term will be at the end of the year, and then he just won't, it'll stay on until. Yeah. I'm assuming that's what to do.
He said he resigned at the meeting, but then he wasn't very specific on. And that's why I heard today. Okay, I didn't hear officially.
All right.
There we go.
It was noted in the minutes that he did make an official resignation, or they wasn't gonna fulfill his, or renew his term. So, we have 2 meetings left, and I suppose at that time that will be removed. Motion. Yep, motion by, I want to say council member, commission member Schifsky.
That's the next one.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion to approve the minutes from October 10th. You all had a chance to read them.
Motion.
Need a motion?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Meeting open to the public. Do we have anybody here that, on Zoom or in the audience, that wants to address the board? Nothing on Zoom. Okay. EDA discussion action items. First one is resolution to amend the EDA bylaws, and I'll turn it over to Brandy.
This item dates back a few months. This was at the direction of the EDA to bring forward the bylaws for review, and the city attorney's office and staff have taken a look at this. We reviewed it against the state statutes and made some updates. Nothing really policy related, just to be in line with statutory requirements. The main updates are that the name of the EDA in the bylaws is now the Economic Development Authority of the City of North St. Paul, so that matches our enabling resolution back in 2009. The presiding officers are the president and vice president instead of chair and vice chair. Only the offices of secretary, executive director, and assistant treasurer can be held by non-commissioned members per statute, so my role as treasurer is going to probably need to be assistant treasurer in the future. And there's just some other minor modifications to mirror statutory language. We have also gone ahead and purchased a seal for the EDA, so we have an official stamp. So when we have the resolution that you hopefully will approve today, we can have it sealed and be completely official and in line with that. So if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to take those.
And again, I'm assuming this was looked at by the city attorney.
It has been, yep.
Do we need a motion to approve the bylaws?
Yep.
Okay. Motion to approve the amended EDA bylaws. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. And Asset Improvement Program.
This is another item that we've been talking about for a few months, and it took a little time to get a draft prepared and brought to you. If you recall, there was a facade improvement program in the city at one point in the past, and it was more of a loan program. We discussed potentially creating a grant program where there would be 2 tiers, a mini grant and a facade improvement grant. The mini grant would have no match requirement, and then the other one would have a 1-to-1 match. And so we've put together a draft for review. There's no dollar amounts established yet, but the general eligibility that we have outlined would be that a project would have to be within a designated area, a target area, which has yet to be defined, but I would imagine that it would be concurrent with the downtown redevelopment master plan. The 7th area is kind of abutting 7th Avenue and Margaret Street. And we have identified potential eligible costs for projects. So if somebody came in with a lighting, exterior painting, siding, signage, canopies, new windows, a mural potentially, or any other types of restoration, they could come in and apply for one of these 2 grants. And we came up with a list of ineligible costs. So if somebody wanted only signage, we would say no to that. Improvements that have been started but have not completed, have not been completed prior to the approval of a grant. Routine maintenance, roofing, mechanicals, anything on the interior, improvements to parking or landscaping, permit fees, purchase of property, fencing, or the purchase or rental of tools and equipment would be ineligible costs. The proposed grant requirements would be, they would make their improvement based on the application that would be approved by this body. Then they would get a reimbursement after completion of the project. All work would have to be in compliance with local, state, and federal laws, the zoning ordinance, and requirements of this proposed program. And all construction must be completed in compliance with the approved plans. And all projects, or all work must be completed within 12 months of the project approval. So that's kind of the brief description in a nutshell. The application would be an online process internally, and then I believe we are proposing that it would come to this body for review and consideration of those grants. I can open it up to discussion or question.
Who gives the approval of the request? Would that be the
I think it would be the EDA.
EDA, the board itself? Or?
That's, I believe, how it's written currently. Yep.
Okay.
Unless there is a desire to make it a staff approval based on certain parameters. But it's my understanding that it's part of the EDA's funding, that this is where the money for this program would come from. Therefore, it would be at the direction of the EDA.
We don't have a dollar limit, right?
We haven't established that yet.
So we would need to establish a dollar amount.
Correct.
Do you want to do that tonight, or is it something?
Well, this is really just a developing program or project, so it's at your direction if you need more research in terms of what are other communities doing as grants, or if we have a sense of where the limits should be naturally just based on our existing funding. Staff is really just looking for direction from the EDA.
How often would you, at first, when they get it, is there a time frame at certain times, or when they come in, we look it over and approve it? Just, I see it says due date by 4:30 and there's a blank line in front of it.
Yeah, I think this could be open continuously or as funding is available, or we could have it as an annual thing and just kind of cut it off.
Only thing I have against with the annual is if somebody comes and really wants it and they may wait that long, are they still going to be interested, things like that. So I would like to, in my mind, it would be nice to be able to come in, be able to help them out if we can, and if we have the money for it. And,
So no specific timeline or, I would have to double check on that. I don't have that information handy.
One thing that jumps out at me is the ineligible costs. One is the improvements to parking areas or landscaping. To me, that's kind of a facade thing to make your, area look real nice. And I think maybe that should be an opportunity for someone to be able to get some grant money to improve their parking lot or landscaping. Make it look nice. I don't see any different than, say, a canopy on the outside or whatever. It's making your establishment look nicer on the outside.
Is this just meant for the downtown area? Is that something like to the sidewalk itself? Unless you're putting another.
Say that again?
You're saying for landscaping, most businesses, at least in Southern Valley, run grid on the sidewalk itself. So it would be a pine trees or something like that.
How about benches? If they want to put benches out in front of the store, is that something that's allowed?
We're not going to do that next year, so that one.
No.
It's more city.
Yeah.
Back to your question about the size of the previous loans, I found the brochure. They were $1,000 to $15,000 with a term of 5 years.
There you go.
See the Monge distributed. I think there's a little bit of list of criteria in there. I see it being used since we're really being specific about like downtown, more of the structural component of those buildings, the windows, the doors, the painting, the top coat, the stucco. The reason I say that is from a business standpoint, we're giving people loans, we're putting money into that. I just think it's a better investment than putting flowers on. That's just not a tangible item that increases the value of downtown. So I think we need to think about that. So I really like the list that's on here. I really think it would be money well spent going into the structural component of downtown. That's where the bang for our buck's gonna be.
What do you think of improvements to parking areas?
Again,
To me,
I don't see a whole lot of, unless you guys, I don't see a whole lot of parking areas that businesses own that really come up in this. I mean, a couple, but I don't see a whole lot of businesses that are in this too. And maybe it's a one-off, when we can talk about it as a media, but I really don't see a lot of businesses coming forth with that. But I think we should, if one does, let's talk about it. And let's be due diligent. Is that a good place? So that could be one. Let's just not say that, hey, it's off the list. Let's listen. Is that a tangible asset that would be good for money to go towards? But I think this program, predominantly the money should be going towards the structural component of downtown. I think that's where the return on the investment for the business owners and long-term of downtown North St. Paul looking good for many years to come. I think that's the key to this.
And also, it'd be nice too if we encourage for the businesses that are on the main and they have face up to Sepulveda to be able to clean that area up. Because that's where somebody, they think of the front of the building. But I think with the plans we have and how we're trying to do that, I think we have to encourage, and some of that is the financing to have Sepulveda look a little better and just encourage that end of it too with it.
I just know when we had the liquor store, part of it was the landscaping, because it was a showpiece for a lot of traffic. And that was part of the grant, is to do not only facade, the canopy and everything, we could incorporate the landscaping into it, because landscaping can be very expensive too.
No question.
So that was my only concern, is that if you're trying to, you know, make things look good, and I can't give you an example what it's gonna look like downtown for a building,
Right.
but there might be one person out there who might be in that position that it could make that area look nicer with improvement to the parking lot or improvement to the landscaping. That could be a cost.
So I think we just need to, just because this says ineligible, I don't think we should just say if anybody comes with
A plan.
couple parking lots that need to be improved, just because it's ineligible, let's listen. Like, let's just listen, does it make sense? Is it gonna help Sepulveda? You know,
Right.
I can think of a couple there. I don't think just because it's on a list, you say, no, let's hear them out. I think that's fair.
So take that off the list of ineligible.
Or just put ineligible with a parentheses, but not ruled out. I mean, there has to be, you know, or just leave it.
I think for clarification from staff's perspective, if we took it off of the ineligible list and left it off of eligible, then if it came up, then it would be one of those questions that we would have to defer to the,
There are gonna be gray areas
yep.
in this. And that's why you have a board of, does it make sense? Is it gonna, my whole perspective on this is, long-term investment. Not flowers and grass, even though I think, Furlongs would be, I totally understand where you're coming from. That's a big, you know, draw. You're coming off Highway 36, there's a nice orchestra. I get it, that's a one-off. Let's talk about that as business minds. That's what we're here for.
You trying to get money on North St. Paul for your liquor store? Is that what I'm hearing?
So I would say take that off the ineligible. And I agree that, you know, people, if they have an idea, bring it to the board,
Absolutely.
you know, if that's gonna be. Anything else? The signage can be very expensive, depending if it's digital or what have you.
That would be something that is specific to the business that's in there, and it's not necessarily an improvement to the property necessarily. Is that, well, I think that could be part of the rationale for that, because that sign could disappear with the business whenever the business goes away.
I agree with you, Brian.
I do too.
You know, but, you know, again, that's where a conversation of business comes to us and says, hey, we want money just for a sign, but we all well know, the stuff was in bad shape, the painting's in bad shape. Outside of the, you know, that's where, you know, we've gotta take those things into consideration.
And to me, signage can be an impression of your area that's outside. Can be can look pretty crappy, or it can look really nice, you know, and to do a nice signage can be very expensive. And it can be very, very cost prohibitive for a lot of small businesses that come in. Why not just throw it in there and be one of those things that we could take a look at?
So to clarify, signage is being removed from the ineligible cost list.
Yep. Anything else? I think this will be a good program for the businesses.
We've already had inquiries from businesses downtown.
And then the dollar amount, we'll look at that at the next meeting, or you gotta,
We could discuss it now, or if you'd like some examples of what other communities in the area are doing, I could bring
Yep.
examples.
I think that'd be good
Okay.
to get. It's $15,000 doesn't go very far nowadays. A lot of roses.
It's a lot of grass you want to cut.
Do you want a motion then to
No, I think I have the direction.
bring that up? Okay. All right, if there's nothing else on that, we'll move ahead to the treasurer's report.
The report is in your packet. Our cash assets as of October 31st is $404,007. And our ending fund balance is $460,503. All of the expenses and revenues are listed in there. Are there any questions about the figures?
I'm assuming that this is November?
November's not completed yet, so that'll come in December. Yeah, you're looking at the October.
October.
Yep.
Got it. Okay. Any questions regards to the treasurer's report? Updates, staff updates. Do you need a motion for the treasurer's report? No.
Staff updates, we just had two projects that were discussed in this group that have been kind of back and forth between here and City Council. The Mulcahy-Dobbs garage condo proposal was voted down by the City Council. They voted to deny the MOU that was proposed, and instead the City Council has directed staff to get an appraisal on that property. So we're in the process of getting it platted and getting it appraised. The other site is 2579 7th Avenue, the site by Sidewinders, and that was also, council opted to pass on doing a listing agreement with Crossroads Realty, so we will get an appraisal on that property as well, based on their direction. And that is all I have to report.
So, just to clarify, they're passing an agreement until we get an appraisal, or?
Or the,
I'm reading for the 2579 7th Avenue.
yeah, we're just getting the appraisal, so we know we're ready to go. We're gonna have a packet for the pieces of property there for sale. Then we'll decide once we get everything there, what we're gonna do. So we're gonna get the appraisal packet and, all the ordinances and everything else for that area. Gonna have a file for each property we have for sale, so we understand where we're at with it.
And then start a listing with it, or?
That's what we have to decide at the meeting. Now that we have the available, how are we gonna best list this to the market? Is it gonna be, are we gonna do it for the EDA? I know Robert, when he spoke at the workshop, mentions about the EDA, of course, just understanding where we're at with it. More of a development, not just a for sale. Keep it as a development, because it's in the middle of downtown.
Got it.
So we have a little more, but just understanding what we have, and then we can mark it as a development.
Okay.
There's been a sign out there, but really hasn't been.
And has that been started yet, the appraisal process?
Not for that property.
But the other one has?
Yeah, the one we had, was it 5 or 6 properties over across the street, Margaret, so we have to, plus the park.
Yep.
And we gotta kind of, no matter what would've happened, we'd have to get things divided up so we understand, because we're keeping the park area and then getting the other ones as one unit.
Yeah, so we're working on getting it platted right now, which will establish the one buildable lot, which is putting it and getting it ready for development essentially, as well as establishing the required easements that we need for the utilities. And the appraiser for that particular piece of property is waiting for that plat to be completed, so he has the information he needs to accurately appraise it.
And the park will be separate from that?
Yep. They're Triangle Park, isn't it?
Well, the parking lot is separate, not necessarily.
Parking lot too goes there, but that little triangle is part of the,
The park is part of the development parcel.
Will be part of the development?
sorry, the parking lot behind it.
Okay.
So we have it all ready for whoever, they know what's there and what they have to work with.
Okay. Any other updates? Is it? Chris, you got anything? Okay. EDA member updates. Anything?
We got nothing. Okay.
Well, put an idea out there that we're looking at right now. Commissions, or the EDA is some big changes right now with people falling off their line at one time. Are you going to run? Are you next year?
Mhm.
So we have several members that are in that boat. So we're looking at different possibilities that are out there and talking to neighboring cities on how they work that. The control of purse strings are more underneath just from council. So the idea of voting on talking to the city attorney now, get more information about having this, having a recommendation group or advisory group for the EDA, and then bringing the EDA underneath the council working with the EDA as they are the HRA right now, and then have just that recommendation commission for them. Isn't that, and that was how it was set up when we were on that commission. How did, and did that work pretty well for them?
Worked very well.
So Oakdale, Woodbury, Maplewood, EDA is underneath the council that's elected as far as that, and then it's an advisory committee for the EDA, for the members. And then we would have our normal EDA advisory meetings type of thing. I know that for myself and Tim, during the work week is a little tough, so we're trying to figure out if that's still, what time frame it would be to be able to, because we'd still, of course, there's always one person from the council that's part of every one of the committees, so.
Potentially looking at every month or quarterly, sometimes as needed, maybe not meeting every month. The city that's built up to its borders, so we're looking at more redevelopment than anything else.
So what's really the big difference between how it's set up now and moving forward?
The big difference is then council will be making decisions over the finances of the money from the EDA to whatever development might be going on.
So they would be in charge of like the facade improvement.
It's just beside the money. There'd be the recommendation, and then the money as far as being voted on for that as part of the council, just like the HRA is.
And the way it worked in Oakdale, again, you get a commission, no different than the park commission and all the other commissions. You have good representation from, people who are in the know of economic development, or, you still got your builders, still got your business owners, where the council, they still need that recommendation. They still need some sort of input from people who are in the know of economic development. So it's a good resource for them to, so there isn't much difference right now. You know, our body, what we've gone through in the last 8 years, 10 years, you know, I think was a very important time for the city of North St. Paul to have this EDA organized the way it was. You know, we did a lot of things in the last 8 years to get these developers, to get the connections, the relationships with the Port Authority, with, you know, the business owners who were involved in some of these developments. And I think that was really important. Moving forward, you know, we've got a lot of things that we've done and that we're pretty proud of. And, you know, being more of an advisory commission, you know, I see that as still a huge benefit to the city. You know, you can look at it 2 different ways. You know, one is we just won't have control over the money per se, but we'll have a huge input of still what's going on in the city. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that's the way a lot of the neighboring towns are. And sometimes it's quicker to get the answers faster for developers, having the EDA as the council members, because they can make that decision quick and hopefully. Because it's still, at the end of the day, we still had to go through the council. So, kind of, you know, what we've done in the last 10 years, you know, to me is we've done a lot, so. Thoughts? New guy?
I don't have enough information to go, you know, go off and make a decision whether it's good or bad. It's a gathering, like, right? I want to know. I want to know the process. I want to get more information on why it's a good thing or what are the negatives, and then make a educated decision. You know, so I can't respond, hey, yeah, you know, let's do this. That's not fair. That's why we're have an objective opinion, but you can't have an objective opinion. You just kind of don't know exactly what does that mean.
And that's why we're getting that information.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because one thing is then it's you're held accountable for all the money to the people that are elected.
Yeah.
So part of that is that streamline is, you know what, they make a decision. We don't, 4 years from now, you know, we don't vote them in. They're part of the purse, the money, as far as the elected officials. So that's where a lot of them have done it, and that's what the mayor of Oakdale said. You know, anybody that's charge of any money that's in charge goes through the council as far as that, just for another, and faster to go through, like you mentioned, and still is an advisory commission, and just like he mentioned, that it goes, our recommendations still always go up to the council. So,
Right.
and we're gathering that, but your term is up. Hopefully, you know, you'll continue, because you're at the end of the year too, I think, if I remember right.
Yep.
And we have Mr. Schifsky, we have Thorsen's done, Dew's done. The only one that's left is former Mayor Furlong, as far as still has a term to go that I think of. So, and that's where we're looking at changes now as far as that in the advisory during the day, and, you know, just trying to make it streamlined like the rest of it, because we value and we take the information from our planning commission, from Parks and Recs. I mean, we get all that information. That's what they do. They dig in, just like you guys dig in. But then it just comes up to, most of the time, it's just like the land, that didn't go purchase, Margaret. It was, we need the council to approve it. And then we got through a cycle where we couldn't get to it. There wasn't enough people at the meeting. And then we got back after that, and, you know, feelings were hurt, and there was some things that happened, and it was a lot of extra because of the way everything lined up. So, and I was asking around at the different mayors, regional mayor commission. I was down there yesterday and just talking to different cities to see how they handle it. So far, everybody I've talked to handles it with anything money, EDA, HRA is the council, then they have their advisory committees.
And when I started on the EDA, we only met 4 times a year. It was quarterly. I don't remember when it changed or how it changed, but it changed.
Yeah.
Because it went, you know, we were doing it 4 times a year, and then all of a sudden it was every month.
Well, a lot of it too is budget, because there's things she has to sign off on and pass to pay and different things like that. So that's where the EDA, alls we do at the meeting is hit the gavel, say, okay, we're not the council anymore, we're the EDA, log in, pay the bill, log out, same thing with the HRA. So that's the fluid of it, being able to take care of it. And we're having lots of changes coming up as far as new members and things. We're just looking to see what's the best, and how many people we're going to be able to get on the council, the committees. Does that help?
I mean, I see it as, you know, again, whether a commission or authority, you know, this body, the people who serve on here are very important to the council.
Definitely, just like the planning commission, they go through all the rigmarole that, you know, I was on the planning commission before I came here. I mean, there's a lot of due diligence and there's a lot of back and forth, so we definitely, you know, depend on everybody when it comes to that, because that's where their information comes from, because that's their job, is they focus on digging into that, and we have great committees throughout all of our committees.
Any other updates?
One other quick update. Val came in City Hall today. Things are going good over there, and they're laying block now at the Lilly Building, and they'll be laying block, and they'll be ready for walls, which will be delivered. Crane will set them up probably mid-December. Timeframe you were talking about.
And did I hear they had to close the road again?
It's a pretty good sized crane, so they might be setting that crane up on the road to set the walls. So yeah, we may be doing that.
And that could
Request has come in.
be a week or 2 weeks, or,
He didn't give us a time frame. Did you see anything on time frame there? See a time frame, I'm sure it would be a week, probably.
Did they find any surprises, or is everything, kind of what they think?
I heard something
Some more
about me.
You found one of your vaults, they dug a little too deep to the north.
It was empty, actually.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Any other updates? Good. Not, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Opposed?
thank you.
You owe me $20.
$20 per meeting?
You said 20 minutes. This is 40 minutes.